Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Wednesday's edition of Carry On, brought to you by Nation's Finest, where our mission is to support America's military veterans and their families with a comprehensive approach to housing, health, and employment that helps them to achieve self-sufficiency and reach their full potential. If you or a veteran you know needs help, or if you'd like to make a donation, please visit nationsfinest.org or call 833-468-9676. Again, that's nationsfinest.org or 833-468-9676. I'm your host, Mark Miller, Army veteran and Communications Director for Nation's Finest. Today, Dr. Ryan Attar is here to talk with us about veteran employment and his own experience. Ryan spent 6 years in the Army, having advanced to the rank of captain. Dr. Attar is now a licensed and practicing naturopathic physician at the Connecticut Integrative Medical Center. He has a master's degree in human nutrition and a doctorate in naturopathic medicine. Dr. Ryan Attar, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Really appreciate you being with us.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
So, as we talk today, we're talking about veteran employment this month. And I was hoping you could share some of your story of how you exited the military in kind of an unexpected way and very quickly had to figure out where to go from there, not just in terms of employment, but where you were going to live and really your life going forward from there when you weren't necessarily planning to leave the military. What did that look like for you and what steps did you go through to kind of make that transition?
Yeah, so I was a captain and I had been in for almost 5 years at that time, and came down with type 1 diabetes. So I was stationed in Germany at the time, and we'd gone to Iraq, I think 2 years earlier, and came down with type 1 diabetes, which is, they used to call that juvenile diabetes. It's an autoimmune disease, and it's, your body destroys the cells that make insulin in your pancreas, and that's it. You're on insulin for life, and because of that, you're not fit for duty. Like I could have never gotten in the military with type 1 diabetes. But once you have it, then yeah, you get medically discharged. So yeah, I was working in Germany and this came up, and then, the whole process of the medical discharge came up, and then I was going to be out, and big surprise, because who can predict this coming? I was, perfectly healthy otherwise and would have never expected this. And yeah, so I had about a little under a year after that diagnosis until all of the medical stuff were complete. And that was that. Yeah, I was out.
I can only imagine that would be kind of jarring and a lot of quick planning, clearly planning going on, but a lot of quick planning that maybe you thought you had more time to do. So what was that like then once you took off the uniform and said, okay, time to go live the rest of my life after the Army? Yeah. What steps did you take from there?
So, maybe kind of like you, went through the ROTC thing before the military, and, I knew I was going into the Army. So I basically just had to graduate college. And back when I was in college, I never really was working on a degree that was something I wanted to go into anyway. I just did a degree that I was interested in because I knew I was going to the Army after. So that being said, with this medical retirement, like I no longer have the job that I was expecting to have and continue working. So yeah, I had to rethink things and figure out what I wanted to do. Initially, I went and worked with family. My dad and his brothers have this big metal company. It's scrap metal. They buy, sell, and process and recycle scrap metal, and they do really well with it. And they invited me to come work with the family, so I did that for 2 years. I was working that job. Didn't really like it a whole lot. It wasn't really stuff I was interested in, but it was good to get a paycheck, and it was good being with family too. But meanwhile, I was starting to get other interests, especially nutrition and diet. Being a diabetic, I was really concerned about my own health. So I just started reading everything I could, and learning to eat better and learning to just take care of my health. Because with type 1 diabetes, it's always a balancing act to maintain blood sugars and keep yourself healthy. So eventually, I quit my job and went back to school. And big reason for this too was I was getting really healthy. Like when I would go to my doctor's appointments and I would go to the VA, and they would look at my blood work, and I didn't look like a diabetic. I had better blood sugars and other labs that were better than a diabetic. I looked like a non-diabetic. And they couldn't really understand it because I wasn't really following their advice. I had discovered a healthy way to eat and to take care of myself. And it didn't really jive with like the kind of conventional approach to nutrition, which is like, food pyramid type stuff that, doesn't really get anyone healthy following the standard American diet. So I got a little frustrated with my doctor. So I figured I could do this better myself. So, why don't I go back to school? And that's what I did. I got my doctorate, and I also did a master's in nutrition on top of that.
Ryan, I have to say, I personally know your story already, but I know that for all of our viewers and listeners, that's inspiring to say you didn't get down and out. Oh, woe is me, got diabetes. You went out there and started working again right away, even if that wasn't, maybe that wasn't the right choice for you. It sounds like long term. Mm-hmm. And then it sounds like you really just took the conditions life threw at you and parlayed that into, well, yeah, this is now an interest and a passion of mine, which you're following now.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have ever gotten into this field had I not become a diabetic. I mean, I love what I do now. And I don't know what I would have otherwise been inspired to do had I just like maybe gotten out of the military, just try to find a paycheck somewhere and make money. And I'm really lucky that I can do something that I really like.
And now you talked about that first job with your family there. You hear a lot of veterans, their first job out of the military, they don't stay there very long. They were looking for something. A lot of us get really worried about just not being employed. So a lot of us jump into that first opportunity there is. And it's, again, inspiring that you went from that to then following a dream that was really yours. So happy to hear that you're in a field that you're more passionate about and helping so many patients now too.
Yeah. The
question out there with a lot of our listeners and viewers now is probably, you just talked about a doctorate and a master's. That's not cheap. So did you have a lot of money on hand, or how did that work out?
Well, something we're very, very lucky and fortunate to have as veterans is the GI Bill. And I honestly wouldn't be where I am now without the GI Bill. I would have not. School would have been ridiculously expensive. I would have huge loans on my hand with high interest rates that I would not be wanting to pay. I would have never gone into this field had I not had the GI Bill. And I had the Voc rehab program too, because I was medically retired, and which is basically very similar to the GI Bill with a few other little benefits. But either way, it's an amazing opportunity for veterans to be able to, hopefully like me, figure out something that they want to do and use this benefit to go to school. And also what's great about the GI Bill, not worry about your kind of bills and living expenses while you're in school, because you get BAH while you're studying. So you can really just focus on studying. And
so BAH, for those who don't know, basic allowance for housing. So you got your tuition paid, and they were giving you a stipend to make sure you could pay your rent too, that you weren't having to cover those expenses.
Yeah. So I was great while I was in school, and didn't have to. Some people go to school and work a job on the side, and that would have been insane to do too. I mean, people do it, but a lot of hours I spent studying, and would not want to have more hours on top of that to, pay my rent and stuff like that. So yeah, the GI Bill is just an amazing opportunity that we all have. And it's something that, I hope most veterans know that they can use that. And it doesn't have to be for a doctoral degree. You could go learn to be an electrician. You could go do whatever kind of small certifications for anything with that GI Bill. And it's
so not only degrees, certifications, trade schools.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity. And having this opportunity, you sometimes forget how much debt most people have from school, and it takes them decades, if that, maybe longer, to pay off. So I'm lucky, no debt, and now I'm working. I can do exactly what I want to do because I'm not trying to chase my my student loans to pay those. I can do what I want, and because of that, I'm better at what I do. So yeah, it's been a great opportunity.
Well said. I mean, it sounds like you really just used that GI Bill to say, hey, I can go the direction I want in life. Now that I've identified that, I'm going to get the education and credentials I need to move forward. And then you went and did it. That's really terrific. But I love that you brought up the point. People don't have to use the post 9/11 GI Bill or other potential benefits the way you did. There's a lot of ways to use it once you see that path is ahead. So I'm really glad you hit on that. So given your story, your experience, you went from, unexpectedly having to depart the military, retire from the military at a young age, and you made it through a brief period of employment, back to school, now doing what you love. After that inspiring story and hearing all that, what would you share thoughts-wise, advice-wise to our fellow veterans listening to this now?
In addition to taking advantage of opportunities like the GI Bill, just try to take advantage of VA to take care of your health too. And our bodies get destroyed in the military, and a lot of us get out and we're broke. Not broke as in no money, but broke as in we're broken. But doesn't have to, we can heal, we can get stronger, and we can get back on our feet. So, I would stress that. Use what opportunities you have available, especially if you have the VA, and take care of your health. And, just because you might have had some setbacks while you're in the military, like I did, you don't have to let that rule your life, really.
So well said. Whatever position we were in when we left the military, however planned or unplanned that was, you're right, that can't rule the rest of your life. So taking the reins like that, and looking out for your health as well. I think I'm really glad you brought that up, because we've talked about kind of the employment side, and the financial side with the GI Bill, but you're spot on with your health. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Not taking care of your health, that kind of affects the education and the vocation and all that. It's hard to do your job or get a degree without good health. What are some of the big wave tops? I mean, obviously you're not speaking with an individual patient here, but what are some of the biggest wave tops, the things that veterans can do to make sure they are taking care of their health?
Yeah, I do have a master's degree in nutrition too. So diet and nutrition is part of every time I talk to a patient, we're talking about something about their diet. There's a lot of ways you can eat healthy, but just trying to eat healthy, trying to make an effort to eat good food, exercise and activity, of course. I mean, 3 cornerstones, basically: having a decent diet, exercise, and the most important one is sleep. And, we all know, having been in the military, that you don't sleep well in the military, and people almost have pride not sleeping well. And it can have one of the worst outcomes for your health, not getting sleep. And so I would emphasize to take care of those 3 things, with sleep being very important. And just because you're used to not getting sleep in the military doesn't mean that you can't start doing that now. And one other thing too, that of course, hurts so many veterans is mental health too. And, don't be ashamed if you need to go talk to a counselor or psychologist, and because our brain, our mind is just another organ in our body. And sometimes we need a doctor to help us get it healthy again. And they've got resources, the VA especially, to take care of kind of mental health issues. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. And it's something that, you may not even think you need it, but you could go check it out and get some help from that.
So mental health, sleeping right, diet, nutrition. Well, you're so right with the sleeping right. That was a badge of honor back in the military, of how well you could function on only maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and that was lauded. And now that's probably, might not have been good for us back then, but we definitely don't need to keep doing that now. So great points. And having pets around probably helps our mental health as well, right? Yeah. Having pets around.
Girl, off.
Well, Dr. Ryan Attar, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your service and for joining your fellow veterans, and for all that you continue to do in the medical field and helping others. Really appreciate you coming on the program today. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
And thank you to all of you who joined us today. We'll be back next week discussing issues relevant to veterans and those who care about them. As always, if you are a veteran you know needs help, or if you'd like to make a donation, visit nationsfinest.org or call 833-468-9676. Again, that's 833-468-9676. Thank you again for joining us today. And as always, carry on.